Okay, let's talk about multitasking with background jobs. So in this topic we will talk about what is the difference between synchronous versus asynchronous jobs. Then we will talk about different types of jobs that you can create in PowerShell. Those are local jobs, WMI jobs, remoting jobs, and each of these job type will have its own child jobs. Then we will see the commandlets which are available for managing jobs. Then we'll talk about how to create scheduled jobs in PowerShell. Scheduled jobs will allow you to that is one of the things that we will discuss. It's not only scheduling jobs. First you need to understand different job types, and scheduling jobs is one of those types. Yeah, recording is already in progress. Okay, so let's start with the difference between synchronous and asynchronous jobs. Now, if I run a command like dir c colon backslash hyphen recurse, so what do you think will happen? It will show me the details about C drive, its subfolders, and all of the subfolders under each folder. It will go recursively and it will show me everything which is available at C drive. That is going to be a huge information. So fetching this information will take a lot of time. And if I hit enter, as you can see, can I run any other command in PowerShell now? No, right? I have to wait for this command to complete. So the only option, if I am in hurry, I have to run some other command. I have to stop this first. Then only I can run some other commands. Now, these kind of operations are called synchronous operations or synchronous jobs, which will keep the screen engaged, which will keep the user engaged till that job completes. But what if I want to run this in the background so that I can continue with other tasks which I want to perform? I don't want to wait for this command to complete. I can start the command, let this command run in the background. Then once this command is completed, I will go back and check what was the output. Similarly, there can be, this is not applicable only for one single command. Any command that you are running, maybe you are running a command against 1,000 different computers. So do you still want to wait for the command to complete its operation against 1,000 computers? It might take 30 minutes. Till that time, either you have to open a new PowerShell window or you need to sit idle. So how to run these operations or any command which is taking very long time to complete in the background? Instead of waiting for it, you can do something else if it is running in the background. That is called asynchronous jobs, running commands in background or completing the operations in background. You don't have to wait. You can initiate the command, let it complete, let it take its own sweet time. If you want to check whether it is completed or not, there are commands which can allow you to test the status of the asynchronous operation. So those are called jobs. In PowerShell there are different types of jobs, whether you are running the commands locally, remotely, or whether you are running the command from WMI. Yesterday we have discussed about WMI. So if you are running a WMI commandlet against 1,000 computers, how to run that command in background? Those are called WMI jobs. So let's discuss about all different job types. First we'll discuss about the local jobs. Then we'll discuss about WMI and remoting jobs. So the same command which I ran, if I don't want to wait for this command to complete, I will start this command as a job using start job. And here the command that you want to run will go inside the script block. And script block, remember, always will be defined inside curly brackets. So inside this curly bracket, either you can put one command or the complete command line that you are planning to execute. Means you can pass the output of one command using pipeline, then again connect multiple commands using pipeline, but that entire thing will go inside curly brackets. Okay, now I will do it like this. So the moment I hit enter, it will create a job with its own default values. But if you want to give a different name to this job, you can give it a different name. If you don't provide the name, it will create it as job 1 or job 2, whatever is the next available job ID, and it will also assign the job ID automatically. So you can give it your own name if you want, like C drive search. Now if this job requires some other credentials, you can provide those credentials, some authentication mechanism. So currently, since we are running it on this computer, I am not using anything else. I am just giving it a name and the command that I want to run. The moment I hit enter, a new job will be created, and it will show you in the output, it will show you the job ID. So there are two ways to check whether this command is completed or not, this job is completed or not. Either you can assign this command to a variable like $job is equal to, that you cannot do right now. While creating the job, you have to do that like this, and then using this $job variable, you can check the status. But even if you have not done that, you can still check the status of the job using get job, get-job. So this is something which was created earlier. So we have created this one. It is still running. This is called a background job or local job. We will come to that. How to see the output of that job, we will come to that. Okay, now this is called local job or background job. Then comes WMI jobs. So by the time we will take a look at WMI jobs, this job might get completed. So this time we will create a variable $WMI job. You can give it any name, is equal to get-WMI object -class win32_BIOS, assuming that I want to get the BIOS details of 1000 different computers. I can provide the computer name here comma separated, or I can read it from the text file using get content by putting the get content in round brackets. But currently, just for the test purpose, I will give only 2 or 3 computer names. Okay. Now the only thing that will differ here is giving this as job parameter. So what will happen? This time it will not show you the job ID on the screen, but it will create the job and store the job inside this variable. I will tell you why I am storing it inside a variable. Now if I give $WMI job, it is giving me the details of that, and the state is now completed. How do I receive the output of this job? So for receiving the output of this job, the command is receive. RECE, receive job, and you can pass the job as $WMI job. Now when you look at this output, let's analyze. First column says it's job ID. Second, the name, because we have not given a separate name, this time it has automatically picked an automatic name based on the ID. Then job type, look at the job type. Job type is WMI job. Earlier when we have created, it was a background job. Look at the state, it says it is completed. Does it has more data? Means does it have any output to be shown? So it says yes, it has more data. Now when you fetch the output using receive job, this has more data will become false, because the output which this job has returned will be saved in RAM, and when you receive that job by giving the job ID or job object or job name, it will be removed from the RAM, and this has more data will become false. It will be displayed on screen and will be removed from RAM. But if you still want to keep, you can use keep. After displaying the information, it will still keep that information in memory. It will not wipe it from the memory. Now see, it is giving me the details about 3 different computers. Now if you go back and use this get job, has more data is still true for WMI job. This time what I will do is, I will not use keep. The output is shown on screen, and if you go back and check, has more data has become false. So there is no more data available for that command output or that job. Now if I try to receive that job once again, I can receive it by giving either ID, job object which is stored in a variable, or the job name. So this time I will use ID as FIO. There is no output because the data is no more available in the memory. Any questions so far? Okay, next, remoting jobs. Now using WMI jobs, you can run only WMI related commandlets, right? Using start job, you can start job only on your local computer. But how to fetch the details from remote computers when you are running command against remote computers? How to run those commands as job? For example, the same command which I ran on a local computer, for example, get-service. I want the details about WinRM service. From computer name Suppose I have multiple computers from where I want to get the details about WinRM service. So how do you run this command as a job? If you check, as job is not available here. So how to perform that operation? You can perform that operation using invoke command. We will discuss more about invoke command later in detail. You have to provide the computer names here. You don't need to provide the computer name with get service commandlet or any other commandlet that you're trying to run. So invoke command, computer name, I'm just repeating this computer name because I don't have multiple computer names. And here goes the script block that you want to run, or the command line that you want to run on a target machine. Whatever you want to run, you can do that. Like getting the list of or the status of get service WinRM. I want to see only the name and status. Now when I run this command, it will try to connect to each of these machines and fetch the details of this, but here it is not running as a job. You have to give -as job in order to fetch the details from multiple or single remote computer. Now if you use again get job, this time it has created a remote job. This is a remoting job. So we have seen background job, WMI job and remoting job. Before that, let me check get because this command itself depends on WinRM service. If WinRM service is stopped, this command will fail. If WinRM service is stopped on your local and remote computers, this command will not work. So first we have to start the service. And we have to run this once again. Now if you see, it is failed because WinRM was not working. All are same computers. Now this time okay, it is failing again. If we see if you want to see what was the error, you can use get-job. There are two ways. Either you can use get-job, give the job ID as 13 and pipe it to receive job, or with receive job you can directly give the ID as 13. Okay, so the username or password specified are invalid. Connecting to remote server ITPogo failed. Okay, logon session does not exist. Okay, this is maybe because we are trying to connect to the local computer, which might not be allowed. So it is using Kerberos authentication, which works for remote ones. See here, Kerberos is used and no username are specified. That might be the reason. So we will look into the troubleshooting part of invoke command when we will discuss about WinRM and remoting. As of now, let's focus on different job types only, because if I get into the discussion of remoting, it will take very long time. There are 2 dedicated sessions to understand how remoting works. Okay, so far we have seen local jobs, WMI job, remoting jobs. Let's talk about child jobs. Each of these jobs, when you see using get-job, each of these job types will have their own child jobs. First job that we have created, C drive search, though it is still running. Now if you notice, from 1 the next job was 4. And if you look at this job ID 5, from 5 it has directly jumped to job ID 9. Why it is skipping these job IDs? Because every job that we see will have its own child jobs. You can use include child jobs to see the child job details. See, job ID 1 has created its own child, and these 3 and 4, these were created earlier when I was giving some other session, so you can skip these. Job ID 5, it has created 1, 2 and 3 jobs, or 3 child jobs, because these child jobs are for each computer. So here I have passed 3 computer names. All 3 computers were assigned to a child job. Each individual computer will have its own child job. So this is something which happens automatically. Then we have created remote jobs. All 3 jobs have failed, but it has created its own child jobs for each computer. Understood about child jobs? Okay, now what if one of the child job fails? What will be the status of parent job? Let's try that. Let's try that with WMI. Here, what I'm going to do is, I'm creating one more job here, but I will give one more computer name here which does not exist. I will give a computer called XYZ. So there is no computer in this network called XYZ. So it is going to fail for this, but remaining will be successful. Now if I go back and check the status, including child jobs. Now look at the job status of the parent job. This is the parent job, 17, right? It has created job ID 17. What is the status of this parent job? It is failed. It will show you the status has failed if one of the child has failed. So here job ID 20, which is the child job, has failed. That's why it is showing failed for the parent job, even though few other childs have successfully completed. So this is how it works. It will always show you failed even if there is at least one failed. Now if you want, you can check the output of each child job separately by giving their job ID, or you can give the parent job ID. It will show you the status of all child jobs. Any questions?
Can run that particular one again?
No, you have to run a new job. You cannot reinitiate that failed one. You have to separately run another command for creating a new job. You need to first look at the output of that job which was failed, why it is failed. Then you have to run that job again, one single, for that one single computer. Okay, now let's discuss about schedule jobs. So schedule jobs are added to Windows Task Scheduler. Yeah, it will give the reason. You have to look at the output. Get, sorry, receive hyphen job hyphen ID for the failed one. Failed one was 20. RPC server unavailable. That means that computer does not exist. Yesterday we have seen. Hmm. Yeah, you can export it to CSV. You can use receive job, give the parent job ID, and pipe it to export CSV. Okay, so there are few other commands for managing jobs. So far we have seen start job, receive job, get job. If you want to find other commands, you can use get hyphen command hyphen noun part will be job. So debug job is not related to these jobs, it is a different thing. Get job we have seen, receive job we have seen. Once you are done with the jobs, you can use remove job by giving the ID. For example, this workflow 3 and 4, I can use remove job hyphen ID. If you give the job ID of the parent job, it will also remove the child job. Okay, I think parent job ID is without removing its parent. I think it has its parent job as something else. Okay, if you want to remove all the jobs which are done, you can use get job, pipe it to remove job. All the jobs which are completed, if you want to remove, then you can use where state is completed or failed, where dollar underscore dot state is equal to completed or dollar underscore dot state is equal to failed. You can remove whatever you want, you can use. It is up to you. It will, we are just applying a filter here. Remove job hyphen force will forcefully remove that job. Now if you use get job, only the two jobs which out of which one is the parent and one is the child, these are currently running in the background. Remaining everything which was completed or failed, it was removed. Now this is taking very long time. If I don't want to continue with that job, I can use, let me show you the command, stop job. So stop -job -id 1. So it will stop all the child jobs. Now if you go back and check, it is stopped. But whatever data it has fetched till it was stopped, that data is still there. If you use receive job, whatever details it has fetched till that point, it will show you on screen. So we have seen receive job, get job, remove job. Now there are certain jobs which are running in a loop. You can suspend that job and then you can resume it, but not every command will allow you to suspend. Like running the dir command will not allow you to suspend. If you are running a loop, then only, or we have not yet discussed about the workflows. When we will discuss about workflows, that time we will discuss about resuming a workflow. So workflows is a different and big topic. We have to discuss a lot of things before we discuss about workflows. That time I will discuss about suspended jobs and resuming the jobs. So we have seen start job, stop job. Let's only discuss about the wait job. Now suppose I am running a job in the background. Let's start a job which takes say around 3 minutes or 30 seconds or 50 seconds, something like that. So to mimic a long running task, you can use start -sleep seconds 30 seconds. Now instead of finding a command which exactly takes 30 seconds to complete, we will create it as a start sleep command. So it will, let's make it 40. So what it will do is, it will create a job with this command. Now it will take 40 seconds for that job to complete. Till 40 seconds it will show the state as running. Now if I use get job, it is still running. What if I want to wait till this command completes? I can use wait job, give the ID 22. Now here what will happen? It will not show the output of this command, but still it will wait till this job completes before it releases the cursor. Got it? Now the cursor is released as soon as this job state has become completed. So sometimes in your scripts you might have to, if you have a dependency of a particular job, before you move forward, you have to give wait job and should not proceed to the next commands in the script till that job completes. There might be situation, right? We cannot predict. So only for those situations you can do it like this. Now let's talk about scheduling the jobs. So in PowerShell there is a commandlet called register scheduled job. Now this is something which will allow you to achieve 100% automation. What is the meaning of 100% automation? Suppose you have written a script. You were doing some task on a daily basis which takes 30 minutes of your time every day, or maybe 1 hour of your time every day. Now you have automated that task, and the task was to run some query against 1000 servers, collect some information and send that information as an email to your superiors. Now even if you have written a script, you have to come to office, run that script, send that email, right? After the script is completed, it will generate some file, some output. You have to send that as an email. Even if you have written in the script to automatically send emails after this execution is completed with including the output, whatever is the summary of the execution, you want to send it as email through script, but still you have to come to the office and run the script, right? That is not 100% automation. If you want to achieve 100% automation, you have to schedule it to automatically run even if you don't come to office. So those kind of automations, if you want to achieve, you have to make use of registering the scheduled jobs. Here you can either provide a script block, means some set of commands, or a script file path. You have written a script, stored it in a file, you can provide the path of that file. So currently we have not started writing scripts, so I will run a script block. Now just to give a small example here, every day at maybe 10:48 I want to run this script, because I am looking at a time which is not very far, so that I can see the output. I want to run a script, run a command to get top 5 processes which are consuming highest amount of CPU and redirected it to a CSV file every day at 10:48. So I can create a new schedule job. I can give it a name as process status. Get hyphen process, pipe it to sort based on the CPU in descending order, and redirect it to, I want to select the name, ID and CPU, and select first 5, then export it to a CSV, C temp ps sch job dot csv, no type information. Now the question is, at what time this script should run? So you have to create a trigger. So here you will create a trigger using new hyphen job trigger. At 10:49 we will give, because by the time we will complete this, it will already pass that time. 10:49 AM. Now if you want to run it only once, you want to run it daily or weekly, whatever you want, you can just try those options. I will use daily. You can try other options. Then if you want to run this in some special cases like run with administrative rights and all, you have to give schedule job option. This is not mandatory. New schedule job option, run elevated. Wake up the computer from sleep. If you want to wake up the computer from sleep for running this, wake to run, things like that. Now a schedule job has been added. Now at 10:49 this should trigger. And where do you see this? Here under Microsoft Windows PowerShell, schedule jobs, it is added. These are added earlier in previous sessions. Let's keep only this one. Now last runtime it was never run. It is scheduled to run at 10:49 every day. Okay, this must be done. Let's refresh. Operation completed successfully. Now go to ctemp and here it is, PS schedule job. If you look at the timestamp, this file is created at 10:49 and at that time these were the top 5 processes. Now I have just kept those commands. Whatever you want, you can keep it in the script log, or you can give the script file also as input, and this will keep happening automatically. It will overwrite that CSV file every time. Any questions about schedule jobs?
If you want to keep the trainers
Yes. Okay, so in that case you can apply the logic. For example, how do you get the weekday? Day of week. So while creating the file here, in the file name use PS schedule job and use day of week, this thing. So for every particular day it will generate a file with that name, like PS schedule job for Sunday, PS schedule job for Monday, and it will keep overwriting the file for that particular day. Got it? Yes. So with this, what is the output file name that you will get? If you want to check, what you can do is you can copy this, put it in double quotes. This will be the file name. If you run this job, if it is getting executed on Monday, it will be PS schedule job Monday. Any other questions? Okay. How to remove this? Unregister schedule job and give the job ID. Now if you go back and refresh, it's gone. Yeah, GUI you can go through the wizard, and since we are discussing PowerShell, I am showing you the PowerShell way. So when you create a job using GUI, that time you have to pass the command line as input and follow the step-by-step process for GUI. We are not concerned about GUI because we are discussing about PowerShell. Okay, so as part of this topic, we have seen synchronous versus asynchronous, local jobs, WMI jobs, remoting jobs, child jobs, managing jobs using job commandlets, and adding schedule jobs. Any questions? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let me stop.